Hello, government contractors and future government contractors. Today's Real Talk, Real Strategies, Real Solutions is about how to get a contract fast by using a simplified acquisition. So we're going to talk about that, how you can get a contract fast by using a simplified acquisition. So let's get started. So let's continue. Real talk, real strategies, real solutions. How to get your first contract using a simplified acquisition. You better ask somebody because I'm going to tell you that's one of the easiest ways to get your first contract is to get a simplified acquisition. And the reason is to streamline the purchase process for the government, enabling small businesses like you to get a piece of the revenue. What can you say about that? How to get your first contract? Winning strategies for government contracts. Let's talk about it right now. My name is Pam Knight, Chief Business Strategist or your government contract specialist. I'm a minority business enterprise, a small disadvantaged business strategic coach, ebook publisher, trainer, webinars, workshops, nominated for Small Business of the Year and Women of the Year. I can go on, but let's get started on what we've covered today. So a simplified acquisition streamlines the purchase process for the government, enabling small businesses like you to get a piece of the technology revenue. So what is a simplified acquisition? It's to be used to maximize the extent of all purchases of supplies and services between the amount of $3,000 and I believe it's now $250,000. So listen to this. It's reserved exclusively for small businesses like you. So don't say, I can't get one. You can get one. Simplified acquisition. It's basically, let's say it again. I don't know how many times I may have to say it again, for small businesses and federal agencies to get to know each other with small, repeatable, let me say that again, repeatable purchases that could lead to longer and larger contracts, affiliations as well. So the reason why I say repeatable, because they can give you one and give you another one without even having to go through a whole bunch of stuff. They can just call you up and say, you finished this one, let's give you another one since you did so well on that one. So right here is what you're looking at is the process of the simplified acquisition. I'm not going to go through it, but if you want to take a look at this yourself, this is the process of the simplified acquisition. It favors small businesses and more federal government dollars were spent on these type of purchases than any other. Let me say that again. Small purchases, more government dollars were spent on these type of purchases than any other. And the process of the federal government, which goes by the regulations of the FAR, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulation, you'll learn more about that later, the acquisition of supplies and services. The rules differ now between agencies. So you as a small business need to review the specifics on how services are dealt with for any group that you wish to work for. What are the benefits of a simplified acquisition? As mentioned before, it is a great way for the government to develop relationships with reduced time frames and less cumbersome process for purchases less than $250,000. So it starts at $3,000. Simplified acquisition procedures also lower the risk for both you and the government, giving you an opportunity to prove yourself. Because if this is your first time getting one, without a long, arduous vendor selection process. So, what does that mean? That means that you don't have to do a proposal. All you have to do is give them pricing and make sure you give them a capability statement. Most of these transactions are a request for a quote, RFQ. Remember that, versus an RFP, which is a request for a proposal, requiring minutes or hours to prepare work, weeks required for traditional government purchases. So that's what I deal with. RFP, request for proposal. That is a tremendous time saving if you do an RFQ, request for quote, for small businesses like you. Why use a simplified acquisition? It basically allows small businesses like you and the federal agencies to get to know each other with small, let me say it again, repeatable purchases that can lead to longer affiliations, meaning you working a longer time with one of the procurement agencies or the buyer at the federal government. It reduces government's administrative costs. Woo-wee! Avoid unnecessary burdens for agencies and contractors. That means writing all this other information. And improve opportunities for small businesses like you. Let me say that again. Improve opportunities for small businesses like you. Now, what are the procedures of a simplified acquisition? It depends. Contracting officer does not buy more than the government needs and attempts to get the best price. Remember when I said it's about pricing? It satisfies the FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations. You'll learn more about that in the webinar. And provides for inspection of supplies and services. So they're going to check out what you will send them so they know that either one, we can work with you and we might make it repeatable. Contracting officer must not, you say what they must not do, solicit quotes based on personal preferences. So I can't go out and pick Johnny Joe, and Susie Bell. It's based on whether or not you can provide the services. Restrict a solicitation based on well-known or widely distributed markets. Okay. Must promote competition to the maximum extent, which means usually they pick about 3 vendors. If your product or service is very unique, they just use one. But this small competition, like you don't have to compete. Like in my case, I may have to compete against 10 to 15, maybe 20 small businesses in order for me to win a contract. But with a simplified acquisition, it's usually 1, 2, or 3, or either one. It just depends. Okay. So here, agencies shall use simplified acquisition procedures to the maximum extent, practical for all purchases of supplies or services not exceeding the simplified acquisition threshold, which is usually $250,000. And this policy does not apply if an agency can't meet its requirements. Now, required sources of a supply under Part A of the federal prison. So if you're doing anything with prisons or something like that, there's certain regulations for that. Existing indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts, or so something can be ongoing for a long period of time, or other established contracts. There's some more rules. Acquisitions of supplies or services that have an anticipated dollar value above a micro purchase. Now, if you saw the webinar, it talks a little bit about a micro purchase, but at or below the simplified acquisition threshold shall be set aside for small businesses' concerns. Here we go again with the FAR, but we're not going to talk about that. The contracting officer may make an award for small business concern under the 8A program, HUD Zone program, Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business, or a Woman-Owned Small Business. Now, that's under a different FAR, but it can happen. And usually those are the longer ones. Oh, my goodness. What happened here? see if we can get that back. Okay. Let's continue. So if you are registered and sane and you have sent your case statement, you should be in good shape of getting a simplified acquisition. Start building relationships with the agencies that you want to do business with, and you should let them know that you are interested in a simplified acquisition, which they call a SAP. So let me just give you a little story here. I think I say that in the webinar, but I want to say it here if you haven't seen the webinar. I was at a PTA meeting and they were taking a break, and a lady sitting next to me turned around and said, I'm looking for a woman-owned small business who does staffing. I could have fell out my chair. I looked at her and I said, say that again? She said, I'm looking for a woman-owned small business, a minority women-owned small business who can do staffing. I slowly raised my hand. She looked at me and she said, oh no, you? I said, yes, me. You're a staffing firm, a woman-owned? I said, yes. She said, oh my goodness, I'm looking for you. I said, I'm here. And she said, we exchanged information, and within a couple of days, she called me, and that was a simplified acquisition. I was able to pay her by credit card, which means I didn't have to get any loans or anything because the money was available for me to pay my employees. So what I'm saying is, let people know that you are a government contractor, because you never know who you might run into who could help you without having to go through all the other stuff. She didn't know who I was. She had no idea who I was. But when I told her what I could do for her, it clicked, and it was a simplified acquisition. Oh my goodness. That was the easiest simplified acquisition one of the easiest simplified acquisitions that I had. So what I'm saying is, start building relationship with the agencies that you want to do business with, and with them, and let them know that you're interested in a simplified acquisition. What can I say? So you can get your first contract doing a simplified acquisition. So that ends our story of real talk, real strategies, real solutions. So if you want more information, schedule your free assessment call, and let's talk about it. If you want to talk about it further, you can always schedule your free assessment call. I know some people will say, you can only do one. I don't do that. You can still call us if you need to about whatever it is you want to talk about. But don't call repeatedly asking the same question. Okay? So schedule your free assessment call if you want to know more about simplified acquisition and learn how to build your business and become a solution provider for the government. I want to thank you. Real talk, real strategies, real solutions. And I hope I see you in the government launch pad in January. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.